For several years, up to 2014, former US Navy service member Matthew Sullivan and his wife, Elizabeth, had been having marital problems. The San Diego couple had a history of domestic violence and fights over the custody of their 2 young daughters. About a month after Sullivan had learned that his wife was having an affair, the woman went missing. It was Sullivan who'd reported her disappearance to the police. 2 years later, as the man was moving away with his new girlfriend, Elizabeth's body was found at the edge of the San Diego Bay. The body was badly deteriorated but showed evidence of repeated stab wounds, which had shattered the woman's ribcage. Investigators argued that the body had been hidden somewhere else, most likely a freezer, before being dumped in the bay. The timeline of its discovery was tied to Sullivan moving to the East Coast. The murder weapon was discovered in the attic above the couple's bedroom, and traces of blood were found on the bedroom floor. Sullivan was eventually found guilty of second-degree murder. Number 13. Rosa Legrand. In November of 2020, Rosa Legrand and her boyfriend, Darnell Mans, got into a domestic argument at the home they shared in Naperville Township, Illinois. Legrand had confronted Mans after learning that he was involved with another woman. The argument escalated and Mans started to pack his bags with the intention of moving out. That's when Legrand shot him. The 34-year-old woman then video called Mans' lover while he was lying in a pool of blood in the background. There was no audio on the video, but someone off camera, most likely Legrand, was seen kicking Mans while he was down. The woman then called a relative to take her 4 youngest children, who were waiting outside in a car. During the call, she claimed that she'd be imprisoned for life. Mans was hospitalized with a bullet lodged in his spine and was later pronounced dead. The case is ongoing, but Legrand is expected to be charged with murder in the first degree. Number 12. Boland Yorkse. In the spring of 2021, Turkish woman Beyza Yurtas ended the relationship with her boyfriend Boland Yorkse after finding out that he was married. In the meantime, Yorkse's wife had also discovered the affair. The man then reached out to 24-year-old Yurtas and asked to meet up. She reluctantly agreed, and they saw each other on March the 31st in the district of Alanya, in the southern province of Antalya. Upon encountering Yurtas, Yorkse dragged her into his car, locked the doors and started beating her. He then video called his wife during the onslaught to show her what he was doing in a twisted attempt at making amends for cheating on her. Yorkse reportedly asked his spouse if she liked it, to which the unnamed woman reportedly replied, "I love it. Hit her once again. This time, hit her for me." Yurtas was subsequently taken to a hospital. She later posted photos of her injuries online and wrote about what happened, claiming she lived in fear for her life. Yurtas reported that her ex was simply released after being interviewed by local police when her post went viral, attracting attention to the case. A warrant was reportedly issued by the prosecutor's office and Yorkse was taken into custody. Number 11. Chelsea Ann Marie Shipp. On March the 27th of 2022, deputies in West Jefferson County, Texas, responded to reports of a shooting in the 14,000 block of Kolb's Corner. Deputies arrived at the home of 22-year-old Cody Arnold, where they found the blanket-wrapped body of his living girlfriend, teenager Caitlin Nicole Stone. Arnold was taken into custody, and after being read his Miranda rights, he told the officers that Stone was possibly pregnant. A woman named Brandy Moon was the one who'd alerted the authorities regarding Stone's killing. She reported that the teenager had visited her on March the 25th along with Arnold and 24-year-old Chelsea Ann Marie Shipp. It was later revealed that Arnold was cheating on Stone with Shipp. The day after the visit, the latter asked Moon to borrow her car, claiming she had some business to take care of. Upon returning the vehicle, Shipp admitted that she'd shot Stone, gesturing a pistol with her hand and adding, "He asked me to take care of a problem and how he has to do what he has to do." She had also confessed the crime to Moon's nephew, whom he asked for help with moving the body. He refused and later spoke to the police. Investigators discovered that Shipp had told Arnold he'd be in trouble for getting Stone pregnant because of her age. It was suspected that he consequently asked Shipp to kill her. Following his arrest, Arnold admitted to law enforcement that Shipp had been the shooter. Both were arrested on murder charges, and each was held on a $1 million bond. Number 10. Payman Thajipur. Feeling cut off from her relationship with boyfriend Payman Thajipur, Australian woman Jacqueline Sabana Bonner Musa got into her Toyota Kluger and went to his home in Wentworth Point on June the 27th of 2020. Musa had repeatedly tried to reach 31-year-old Thajipur on his phone, but he wasn't responding. When she arrived at his home, Musa found him in the company of another woman while in his underwear. Musa then got in her Toyota and accelerated towards Thajipur. She struck him with the vehicle and drove through a bollard with him pinned under the hood before fatally crushing him against the car park wall. Musa then called the emergency services to say, "I just hit him and he's dead." The woman was arrested and sentenced to 20 years in prison with a non-parole period of 14 years in March of 2023. The sentencing judge described the murder as a crime of passion and a fatal explosion of emotion that was out of Musa's character, as she hadn't previously gotten in trouble with the law. The judge also noted that 47-year-old Musa was living with untreated PTSD, anxiety, and depression caused by what she'd experienced as a child when she'd fled poverty and war in Sudan. Number 9. Austin Hoff. Texas man Austin Hoff, aged 29, was sentenced to 23 years in prison in the spring of 2023 for the murder of Stephen Center in Spring several years prior. Hoff, who'd grown up in Spring, had relocated to Austin after finding work as an auto mechanic. He convinced his girlfriend, whose identity wasn't released, to move in with him. Their relationship unraveled after the woman had caught Hoff cheating on her. She subsequently returned to Spring and started dating someone else. In the aftermath of their breakup, Hoff began stalking and harassing the woman. On September the 5th of 2016, he went to his ex's Spring home, parked outside and waited roughly 3 hours for her. The woman returned accompanied by Center, her new boyfriend. A confrontation ensued when Hoff tried to force his way inside the woman's residence. Center pushed him away, at which point Hoff brandished a pistol and shot him in the chest, killing him. Hoff then removed the shirt he was wearing and started driving back to Austin, but was called by his father, who persuaded him to return to the scene of the crime. Deputies from the Harris County Sheriff's Office were already on location, and they arrested Hoff. In his car, law enforcement found his shirt and the murder weapon, both of which were covered in Center's blood. Hoff was convicted and sentenced after 7 days of testimonies. District Attorney Andrew Figluizzi explained that his 23-year sentence was a tribute to Center's age when he was killed. Figluizzi described the case as one of entitlement and was quoted as saying that Hoff had felt entitled to take back his ex-girlfriend and entitled to kill her new boyfriend. Number 8. Patrick Carney. Country singer Michelle Branch met Patrick Carney, the drummer for the Black Keys rock duo, at a Grammy party in 2015. They co-produced Branch's third studio album called Hopeless Romantic and started dating. The couple had a son in 2018 and got married the following year. In February of 2022, Branch gave birth to their daughter. A few months later, on August the 11th, Branch took to social media and announced her separation from the drummer, whom she accused of cheating on her with his manager while she was at home with their 6-month-old baby. The following day, Branch was arrested on charges of domestic assault after she'd slapped Carney in the face during a dispute at their home. The charges were dropped at the request of the state less than 2 weeks later, and updates on the couple's marriage indicated that they'd suspended divorce proceedings and were in therapy together. In an interview for The Cut, Branch reported that she and Carney were committed to working on their relationship and denied rumors that she was an abusive partner. Branch was quoted as saying that violence was never the answer and urging readers, don't slap somebody, even if you find out that they were cheating on you. Number 7. Eric LaMountain. In late December of 2022, Texas man Eric LaMountain learned that his girlfriend had been cheating on him with 37-year-old Gavin Wood. Following the affair's discovery, the unnamed woman broke up with LaMountain on January the 8th of 2023. 2 days later, the scorned boyfriend sent his ex a message that read, "I told you what I would do if you ever cheated on me, and I still have his address." LaMountain had obtained Wood's Austin address by tracking his ex-girlfriend through a location-sharing app. During the message exchange, the woman asked LaMountain if he was going to kill her, to which he reportedly replied, "Not you," before sending her a photo of a gun and a screenshot from a ride-sharing app indicating he was on his way to Wood's home. The woman, who wasn't at the address at the time, tried to warn her new boyfriend, but he reportedly didn't consider LaMountain to be a legitimate threat and told her to return to the home. She was on her way back when she received a call from her ex, who told her that he'd gunned down Wood. The woman consequently alerted the authorities, and LaMountain was arrested shortly after the shooting. He told law enforcement that upon arriving at the address, he found Wood standing in the front yard. LaMountain then proceeded to pistol whip the victim. When Wood turned and ran away, LaMountain shot at him until he emptied his gun. Updates on the matter indicated that LaMountain had been booked at the Travis County Jail on $1 million bond. Number 6. Amber Mullins and Ashley Klein. In September of 2022, South Carolina woman Amber Mullins confronted her live-in boyfriend about cheating on her with 27-year-old Ashley Klein. The latter was at the couple's Myrtle Beach home when the argument broke out in the bedroom on September the 8th. Mullins then reportedly told the unnamed man, "Hold on, I've got something for you." The 22-year-old went to the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and then returned to the bedroom. As Klein held the boyfriend down, Mullins stabbed him in the neck and leg. The man survived the knifing while his two lovers were arrested. Klein was charged with assault and battery and released from jail on a $7,500 personal recognizance bond. Mullins was arrested for assault and battery of a high and aggravated nature and possession of a weapon during a dangerous crime. She was held in jail without bond due to her pre-existing legal problems. At the time that she attacked her cheating boyfriend, the woman had been released on home detention on a $65,000 bond for 2 counts of attempted murder. Horry County Police had arrested Mullins in June for a drive-by shooting. From her car, she'd opened fire on 2 people in the Waccamaw Boulevard area. Number 5. Emma Delaney Hancock. A substitute teacher from Oklahoma faced felony charges in the spring of 2023 that stemmed from her allegedly having had inappropriate contact with one of her students. A probe into the case was launched by the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, or OSBI, on November the 8th of 2022. About a month prior, Emma Delaney Hancock, a substitute teacher at Wellston Public School, had asked for a student's phone number in order to text him about an assignment. A few months later, the teen sent Hancock a shirtless photo of himself on Snapchat. The conversation indicated that Hancock was initially fearful about losing her job, but she eventually sent the student a photo of her exposed breasts. Hancock was married to the Chief of Police, Alfred Hancock, and the daughter of Wellston Mayor Paul Whitnar. From October the 23rd to 30th, she and the student continued exchanging explicit photos and videos. On Halloween, Hancock subbed in a home economics class and during the lunch break, reportedly asked the student if he wanted to make out. He agreed and they went into the classroom pantry where the teacher aggressively kissed him. On November the 3rd, Hancock subbed in a biology class and again kissed the student and also reportedly touched him in the crotch area. As rumors about the illicit relationship started circulating in the school, Hancock was approached by another student and asked if they were true. The teacher confirmed the affair and also reportedly told the student that they were not going to get caught. The investigation into the matter was carried out by OSBI to prevent conflicts of interest, since Hancock's husband was the Wellston police chief. During a court appearance in April, Hancock pleaded not guilty to all of her charges, and her next court date was scheduled for June the 22nd of 2023. Number 4. Chasey Poynter. On September the 9th of 2016, law enforcement in Royce City, Texas, received a frantic call from Chasey Poynter, who claimed that her husband had been gunned down on a country road. The victim was identified as Robert Poynter, a 47-year-old firefighter. He was found slumped over in the couple's Jeep after having sustained a shotgun blast to the head. Body cam footage from responding officers would show 29-year-old Chasey distraught and hyperventilating while trying to explain to officers what had happened. She claimed that she only saw the shadow of a man approach their vehicle after it had gotten stuck in the mud, and then ran away after the suspect had shot her husband. Royce City Police Sergeant Shane Meek found it suspicious that the killer hadn't executed Chasey as well. He would later report feeling that the woman was hiding something, as she kept adding different twists and turns and pieces of information that just weren't fitting in place of the puzzle. Upon being questioned further at the station, Chasey revealed that she'd been having an affair with a man by the name of Michael Garza. It would later emerge that he was just one of several lovers with whom she'd been cheating on her husband. The woman gradually turned from a victim into a suspect in the views of investigators. She also claimed during the police interviews that Robert had been abusive towards her, accusations subsequently found to have been unsubstantiated. During the 8-hour interrogation, she eventually admitted that she and Garza had tried to give Robert a taste of his own medicine and show him how it felt to be bullied. Chasey confessed that she had lured her husband to the rural road by falsely claiming her Jeep was stuck. It was there that Garza shot him dead. Chasey told the police that she'd only meant to scare her estranged husband and that Garza had acted on his own in killing him. However, that would prove to be a lie. In light of his wife's affairs, Robert had recently stated an intention of filing for divorce and seeking custody of their daughter. A prenuptial agreement meant that Chasey wasn't likely to receive much in the separation, but she was the sole beneficiary of Robert's life insurance policy worth an estimated $680,000. During Chasey's 2019 trial, the prosecution argued that she'd manipulated her lover into killing her husband by taking advantage of his feelings for her and through fabricated claims that Robert was abusing her. She'd at one point contacted Garza to say, "I can't love you unless Robert is out of the picture." Both she and Garza were ultimately found guilty of Robert's murder. Chasey was sentenced to life without parole, while her lover was given 99 years. Number 3. Carla Vasquez. In the summer of 2016, Florida woman Carla Vasquez called her husband, David Pacheco, to report that 2 men were sitting in her car outside the couple's home. The man, who was working a night shift at the time, rushed to their residence and found that 32-year-old Vasquez and her car were missing. He called the woman, who told him that she'd been abducted and was being held hostage. Pacheco alerted law enforcement and they launched a search for Vasquez, who worked as a bartender at a gentleman's club. Miami police tracked Vasquez using her phone and, at around 3 p.m. on the day that the kidnapping was reported, found her driving through the city in the car in which she'd claimed to have been abducted. She was in the company of a man whom she admitted hadn't harmed or mistreated her. Upon questioning, Vasquez confessed that she'd met the man during her shift at Styx. They went bar hopping and ended up spending the night at his place. Vasquez's companion was also interviewed by the police and he showed the officers photos that they'd taken during the bar crawl, clearly indicating that the woman had at no point been in danger. She'd made up the abduction story in an ill-advised attempt at preventing Pacheco from finding out she'd cheated on him. The woman was charged with providing a false report of a crime, punishable with up to a year in jail and/or a $1,000 fine. Today's topic was requested by Rhetoric Esoteric, Ali Labar 21 and Dana McGorgon 202. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comment section below. Number 2. Kelly Hayes and Sydney Parham. In July of 2020, Wisconsin woman Kelly Hayes was jailed for setting her ex-boyfriend's car on fire in Madison. On July the 22nd, the woman went to her ex's neighborhood as she was reportedly enraged because he'd cheated on her. 34-year-old Hayes used a baseball bat to shatter the windows of the man's Chevy Impala. She then poured gasoline inside and threw a match, sparking the blaze which completely destroyed the vehicle. The local fire department managed to put out the blaze and Hayes was identified as the culprit after witnesses had written down her license plate. The police tracked down the scorned woman and arrested her on charges of arson and causing criminal damage to property. Hayes' fiery revenge occurred on the same day and under similar circumstances to that of Michigan woman Sydney Parham. She too was reported to have sought payback against an ex by setting his car on fire. The Fraser woman's plan, however, backfired dramatically after dumping gasoline on the SUV's back seat. She ignited it with a stick lighter. The SUV exploded into a fireball, sending the woman tumbling backwards into a parked sedan. Footage of the incident went viral in the aftermath. The Macomb County Sheriff's Office confirmed that Parham was the woman in the video after they'd arrested her. Injuries from the fireball exploding in her face were still visible in her mugshot. After initially being charged with felony arson, the 27-year-old pleaded down to a misdemeanor and was given probation for 18 months. We have our release from a while back about when girlfriends go wrong lined up for you after number 1. Stay put if you'd like to watch that one as well still. Number 1. Robert Wayne Feldman. In April of 2022, roughly 7 years after the death of 44-year-old Stacy Feldman, a jury found her husband guilty of murder. On March the 1st of 2015, Robert Wayne Feldman made a frantic phone call to law enforcement in Denver, Colorado, to report that he found his wife unresponsive in the bathtub with the water still running. The woman had injuries on her body, but they were explained as attempts made by her husband to perform CPR on her. Robert would express suspicions that Stacy had suffered some form of health complication from having consumed edible marijuana the previous night. However, no trace of THC, the active ingredient in marijuana, was found in her system. Stacy's cause of death was listed as undetermined. As the investigation into the matter progressed, detectives learned that Robert had been having an affair. A woman had emailed Stacy on the day of her death to ask if Robert was really divorced. He'd met the unnamed woman on Tinder, they'd gone on several dates, and they'd been intimate. Robert convinced his mistress that his surname was Wolf and that he was going through a divorce. However, the woman found him on Facebook, discovered that he was still married, and contacted Stacy. Phone records indicated that the latter called back immediately, and thus Robert's cheating was uncovered. The women reportedly shared their anger at having been deceived by him. Stacy revealed that he'd been unfaithful to her in the past and told the other woman that she was done with him. A few hours later, she was dead. Investigators also found out that Robert subsequently cashed in on her $750,000 life insurance policy. Moreover, he'd reportedly been uncooperative with first responders who'd arrived at their home on the day of the incident and refused to allow for an autopsy. The case was reviewed in 2017 by a national expert on domestic violence-related strangulation and suffocation injuries. They concluded that Stacy had been subjected to a prolonged beating and then fatally strangled. Investigators thus determined that she'd confronted Robert about the affair, threatening to divorce him, at which point he killed her. Robert was arrested on murder charges in February of 2018 and subsequently sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Number 9. Jenna Lawrence. On July the 18th of 2020, a 34-year-old man refused to argue with his estranged girlfriend, believing that he was avoiding conflict. However, confrontation was the sole purpose of 29-year-old Jenna Lawrence when she showed up at the unnamed victim's home in Shreveport, Louisiana. Facing his complete refusal, the woman pulled out a gun, shot him, and fled the scene. Police patrol officers, who responded to reports of a shooting, found the man lying on the sidewalk, fighting for his life. He'd suffered a single gunshot wound and was taken to the hospital, where doctors performed life-saving surgery on him. Lawrence's criminal action sparked a police hunt that lasted several days, but she eventually turned herself in. She's expected to be charged with attempted murder in the second degree. Number 8. Emma Jane Maxim. A night out in Leicester, England, ended in disaster for 26-year-old James Knight. On March the 27th of 2016, he and his 28-year-old girlfriend, Emma Jane Maxim, were in a cab, going home after a night of drinking. They began arguing so intensely that the driver asked them to get out of the vehicle. They started walking as they continued to fight, and at some point, Knight pushed Maxim into a parked car, making her fall to the ground. The argument continued after they arrived at Maxim's apartment. At some point during their escalating confrontation, the woman grabbed a steak knife and stabbed her boyfriend through the chest, inflicting a wound 4.5 inches deep. She then waited 45 minutes to call the emergency services. The neighbors were reportedly awoken by night as he was screaming that his heart was bleeding. When Maxim finally called the emergency services, she lied to the dispatcher about the gravity of her boyfriend's wounds and didn't mention that she'd stabbed him.
Ambulance, tell me exactly what's happened.
I don't know. My boyfriend's here and he's making weird noises.
Right, what was he doing to make... What?
I don't know. He's got a lot of blood in him. James, look at me, please.
Do you want an ambulance to come and take him to the hospital?
I don't know. I don't know if there's something up with him or he's just playing about.
Is his eyes open at all? Is he awake?
Well, to be honest, it looks like he's sleeping, but it ain't how he normally sleeps because I live with him, so it ain't how he normally sleeps, that makes sense.
Right.
It looks like he's had a fight with someone.
We'll get someone sent over to him. It's been arranged. I mean, it might take a while, so I do apologise. It's bank holiday weekend and we're getting absolutely...
No, that's fine. Don't worry about it.
You've been out drinking all night?
Yeah, if I'm a bit honest, I think he took some drugs. I just think he's too smashed. That's what I think.
Knight eventually died, and even though she claimed to have acted in self-defense, Maxim was sentenced to 17 years in prison. Number 7. Cordelia Farrell. It's getting worse and worse, and one of us is going to end up dead. 38-year-old Cordelia Farrell told police officers after being arrested for the assault of her 36-year-old boyfriend, Wayne Coventry. The British couple had been involved in what their friends and family described as a toxic relationship. In September of 2019, Farrell attacked her lover, allegedly dragging him by his testicles and biting his private parts. 1 month later, Coventry and Farrell got into an argument at the home of the former's brother in Bromsgrove, Worcestershire. As the fight got heated, Farrell grabbed a kitchen knife and stabbed her partner to death, piercing his chest and puncturing his aorta. The horrific scene happened in front of their friends, who later said they saw the woman grinning as she was pulling the knife out of the man's chest. At first, Farrell fled the scene, but later turned herself in to the authorities. In October of 2020, she was jailed for 10 years by the Worcester Crown Court for the manslaughter of her boyfriend. Number 6. Emily Javier. Emily Javier waited until her boyfriend Alex Lovell was in bed before attacking him with a samurai sword after she'd become suspicious that Lovell was cheating on her. First, she found the Tinder app installed on his phone. Then she found strands of red hair in the shower drain at their home in Washington, USA. The woman reached her boiling point after Lovell came home one evening and ignored her. She went and taped a samurai sword to the side of their bed, and when they went to sleep, she hid his phone so that he couldn't call for help. When the lights went out, Javier reached for the sword and launched a frenzied attack, leaving Lovell with numerous stabs and cut wounds. As the man lay curled up in a pool of his own blood, Javier decided to call 911.
911, can I help you?
I just stabbed my boyfriend.
Okay, what is the address there? Okay, and tell me what happened. Okay, what?
I stabbed him.
Okay, is he awake?
He's dead. I think he's dead.
Okay, what is your name?
Emily.
Okay, where did you stab him?
He's sleeping in the bedroom.
No, where on his body? Where on his body?
Everywhere. Everywhere.
Okay. Can you get a clean, dry cloth or a towel and put it right on the wound? Okay, Emily, where is the knife right now?
It's by him. I use a sword.
You used a sword? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Emily, they're on their way as fast as they can. Is your door unlocked already?
Lovell was taken to the hospital, where doctors had to reattach some of his fingers and managed to save his life. Javier pleaded guilty to attempted first-degree domestic violence murder in court and was sentenced to 19 years in prison. Number 5. Thomasine Bennett. 67-year-old Thomasine Bennett was arrested in February 2017 after beating her boyfriend to death with a metal bat for 36 hours straight. She and 63-year-old boyfriend Walter Mack Clark were at Bennett's apartment in Northeast Washington. On February the 17th, officers received complaints of disturbance from Bennett's neighbors. They went to investigate and were met by Bennett, who took them to see the unresponsive naked body of her boyfriend, barricaded in a closet in a fetal position. She complained that Clark had made her smoke a drug called Love Boat, a mixture of marijuana and embalming fluid. She then told them she'd been beating him with a baseball bat for the past day and a half. Clark was taken to Howard University Hospital, where he was pronounced dead from multiple blunt force trauma. Bennett was arrested and pled guilty to voluntary manslaughter in July of 2017. The woman was sentenced to 10 years in prison by the Superior Court of the District of Columbia. Number 4. Samantha Adekan. Just a couple of days before Christmas on December the 23rd of 2013, 41-year-old Samantha Adekan and her musician boyfriend, Peter Davigan, were drinking at the latter's apartment in Stoke-on-Trent, Staffordshire, England. An argument erupted between the two, and in a drunken row, Adekan began hitting her partner with her fists, feet, and a metal guitar stand until he became unresponsive. Instead of immediately phoning for help, Adekan called her daughter, telling her she'd gotten in a fight with Davigan and that in self-defense she'd left him unconscious. The woman's daughter urged her to call for help, but the woman said she needed to change her clothes first, as they were covered in blood. She then proceeded to smoke cannabis, and only after 40 minutes did she finally call the emergency services. Paramedics arrived at the scene to find that Davigan had suffered internal bruising and bleeding and alerted the police. At first, Adekan claimed she'd merely pushed her partner while trying to defend herself during the fight. However, post-mortem tests revealed that Davigan had been hit even when he was on the ground in a curled-up position. The woman was found guilty of murder and consequently jailed for life. Number 3. Sarah Boone. What a 42-year-old Florida woman first described as a game of hide-and-seek gone wrong was later revealed to have been a revenge murder. Sarah Boone and her boyfriend Jorge Torres had been drinking at their home in Winter Park on the night of February the 24th of 2020. At some point, Torres thought it would be funny to get inside a suitcase. Boone then zipped him up and left him there for over 11 hours, after allegedly passing out in her bed for most of the night. The next morning, in her call to 911, the woman claimed it had been an accident.
Okay, is he hanging from somewhere or what, ma'am?
No, I pulled him out of the suitcase. I tried giving him CPR.
Okay, so he was in a suitcase?
Yes, and I fell asleep.
How old is the boyfriend, ma'am? 42-year-old male. All right. Is he awake at all? Is he conscious at all?
No, he's purple.
Is he breathing?
No.
All right. I need you to get him on the floor, flat on his back for me, okay?
I did. I tried giving him CPR.
All right.
I tried giving him CPR.
Yeah, okay.
But nothing happened. He's purple.
Are you right by him now?
Yes.
Okay. Lay him flat on his. Okay, ma'am. All right, listen to me. Listen to me. I want you to lay him flat on his back for me on the floor.
I did.
Removing the pillows. Okay.
Yes, I did.
All right. Okay.
He's stiff and purple.
However, investigators found that the man's eye was bruised and that he had a cut on his lip. It was later revealed that Boone had recorded her lover throughout the night as he was struggling to get out of the suitcase and slowly dying of asphyxiation, as he was begging to be freed because he couldn't breathe. Boone replied that it was how she felt when Torres would cheat on her. Sarah Boone was arrested on charges of second-degree murder. Number 2. Jodi Arias. A fatal attraction that led to a young man's bloody death is how prosecutors framed the murder of 32-year-old Travis Alexander at the hands of his girlfriend, Jodi Arias. In June of 2008, Arias stabbed Alexander 27 times, slit his throat, and shot him in the head at his home in Mesa, Arizona. The incident occurred only months after they had broken up their relationship, which was described as unusually tumultuous by their friends. In early 2008, Alexander told some of his acquaintances that he'd ended things with Arias after around a year of relationship. However, it's believed that they'd continue to see each other in secret solely for intercourse. In April, Alexander changed his travel companion for an upcoming work trip from Arias to another female friend. Shortly after that, on May the 28th, the home of Arias's grandparents allegedly got broken into by burglars. At the time, a .25 caliber automatic Colt pistol was stolen. In early June, after not being able to reach Alexander for several days, a group of his friends decided to check on him at his home. When they entered the residence, they found large pools of blood in the hallway and discovered his lifeless body in the master bedroom with a .25 caliber round next to him. In the 911 call, Alexander's friends mentioned Arias as a possible suspect.
Oh my God.
911 emergency. Hi, okay, what's going on?
What?
What's going on?
A friend of ours is dead in his bedroom. We hadn't heard from him for a while. We think he's dead. His roommate just went in there and said there's lots of blood. I didn't go in, but I can give you the phone to someone who went in there.
Yes, please, can you?
Hello.
Hi, so what's going on?
He's dead. He's in his bedroom.
Okay.
In the shower.
Okay, how did this happen? Do you have any idea?
No, we have no idea. Everyone's been wondering about him for a few days.
She said that there was blood. So is it coming from his head? Did he cut
No,
his head?
it's all over the place.
Okay. He has an ex-girlfriend that's been bothering him and following him and slashing tires and things like that. Her name is Jodi.
Well, I'm just going to keep you on the phone until officers arrive. Either officers or paramedics arrive, okay?
Okay, I think I can hear the sirens now.
The woman was arrested a month later and initially pled not guilty. She admitted to killing Alexander 2 years later, claiming it had been in self-defense. However, following several years of trials and appeals, Arias was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Number 1. Unnamed Moroccan Woman. After a 7-year relationship with her boyfriend, a 30-year-old Moroccan woman experienced a moment of insanity when the man told her he was going to marry another woman. In the summer of 2018, the man's brother declared him missing after visiting the couple's home in Al Ain, United Arab Emirates, to ask his girlfriend about his whereabouts. The woman said she'd kicked him out of their home and that she didn't know where he was. About 3 months later, in November, the brother claimed to have found a human tooth inside the woman's blender. DNA tests confirmed the tooth belonged to the missing man and his lover was arrested. During questioning, she denied any involvement at first, but later confessed to the murder, claiming she wanted revenge for financially providing for him during their relationship. After killing him, she cut up his body and asked a friend to help her dispose of it. She confessed to using a blender to mince her partner's flesh, cooking it with machbouz, a traditional dish, and serving it to a group of Pakistani construction workers from a nearby site. The woman was sent to a hospital to determine if she was suffering from a mental illness, as she's meant to face trial after the investigation is completed. Thanks for watching. Would you rather marry someone without knowing what they look like, or have your parents choose your spouse? Let us know in the comment section below.